Hi, welcome back to the channel. Sorry it's been a while, I feel like I say that every video, but sometimes life just gets in the way. Today I'm going to be reviewing Christopher Nolan's Tenet. So for those who don't know, Tenet is... I won't give you too much information about it because that's kind of how it was marketed, you weren't supposed to know too much, but it's along the lines of Inception. It's kind of a spy action thriller with sci-fi elements in it, and it stars John David Washington and Robert Pattinson, Kenneth Branagh and Elizabeth Debicki. Yeah, it's a really good one, I think, so let's get into it. First off, I tried not to watch any reviews for this before it came out, but I was just so hyped for it that when the film did come out, I just had to watch the reviews. And I was surprised because a lot of the reviews, they were quite negative, like they weren't as positive as you'd think it'd be for a Nolan film. I mean, they were like mixed, they were positive, mixed, but for a Nolan film that's quite low. So I went in and my expectations were quite low. I was expecting to be disappointed. And I've got to say, I wasn't disappointed at all. I really rated it. I mean, straight off the bat, like it throws you in, like it starts with an action scene, and the action in this film, it's all done really well. It's all in camera, it's as much practical effects as they could possibly use, basically. And the music, the score from Ludwig Göransson was easily the best of the year so far. Maybe Hans Zimmer will top that with Dune, but for now it's the best of the year, and it was surely go down as one of the best of the year. The cinematography as well, by Hoyt van Hoytema, absolutely beautiful. It's really like, it's kind of got this like blue tint to it, a bit like Inception has, but then there's certain scenes that are shot in like bright red, and it just looks good. The colours pop, and it's got that kind of Nolan kind of shadow to it and all that. So visually it looks beautiful. And whenever you see, like, if you see in the trailer, the scene with the plane, that looks beautiful. It's all done for real, and you can just tell it just looks so visceral, and it means the film will age well as well, because, you know, if you utilise a lot of CGI and then the technology gets better than that, then you look back at it and you go, but now you can tell that doesn't look so good. But that isn't going to be an issue with Tenet because so much of it was done practically. And I kind of have to touch upon the main premise of the film a little bit. So if you want to know nothing about the movie, then I would recommend it, but I guess don't watch the rest of this video. But if you've seen the trailer, the time inversion element is so cool because there's all these action scenes, and you just see things that you've never seen before. So you've got, you'll have a fight scene between two characters, and one of them's going forward in time while the other one's going backwards in time, and like, so we'll have a cut but they haven't been punched yet, and so like, oh, they're going to get punched, or they're going to get shot, or they're going to get stabbed, and then they do, and then it disappears. But it's not all backwards, it's just one character that's backwards and then the other one's going forwards, and you can't quite wrap your head around it, but it's just so cool to see. And there's a really, really, really good, probably two of my favourite Nolan films I've ever seen actually, are the plane scene, and then there's a highway chase as well, also from the trailer. The mad thing is, the bit from the trailer, like, it's kind of, the way that it's revealed in the trailer is like, holy shit, look at this, but that's not even one of the best moments of that scene. There are 4 or 5 moments better than that in that sequence. It's so good. In terms of the performances, John David Washington is the protagonist, which is literally the character's name. He's called the protagonist. He's good, and he's charismatic, and he's charming, but he doesn't have a lot to work with. Like, this is a film that really favours spectacle over character, and I think the fact that his character is called the protagonist is Nolan's admission of that. So I don't really feel like it's, because I think it's a choice, I don't really see it as a failure. Like, a lot of people have said, the characterization's weak, and they're right, it is, but for me, the fact that he's called the main character the protagonist, that's him saying this isn't about character, this is about the spectacle. And the spectacle is, honestly, it's to be admired. Like, everything that this movie does, it does well. The script isn't the best, but like I said, it's not going for the script. It's not trying to be The Social Network or Pulp Fiction. It's trying to be a big action spectacle, kind of like how Dunkirk was, where, it wasn't about the characters so much as it was about this. It was about seeing the visuals and how much of it was like plot based. And so, because Nolan knows, because he's aiming for that, I don't really see it as a flaw personally. It might not be to your taste. You might want to know more about your character's backstory, and you might want there to be more arcs and stuff in there. But for me, everything I expected from Tenet and everything I wanted from Tenet, I got. And not only did it meet my expectations, it actually exceeded them. Probably because of those early reviews that I was talking about, but. Yeah, so I love Tenet. Robert Pattinson's in the movie as well. I saw it with a few people, and we all pretty much said that Robert Pattinson was our favourite character in the movie. He's not in it loads. Like, he's kind of like a side character. I mean, he's in it quite often, but not all the time. But he's just, I don't know, he just kind of lights up the screen when he's on it. He's like charismatic, and he's just charming, and he's funny, and he's quippy, and he's just, I don't know, it's just fun. Whenever he's on screen, it's better, and his dynamic with John David Washington's really good as well. But I think the main performance that people are going to talk about, and rightly so, is Elizabeth Debicki, because she is really, if any of the characters are fleshed out in this film, it's her. and she gives a good performance, and she's kind of the emotional core of the film. And I'm not saying she's award worthy. I don't think she'll be getting any Oscars or anything, although with the rate 2020 is going, who knows, because there's not going to be a lot of competition. But I think if anyone had a shot at being nominated for it in terms of the cast, I think it would be Debicki. I also think Kenneth Branagh played a good villain. At first I wasn't majorly keen on him because he really does like chew up the scenery, and he's really ham-fisted, and he's just really over the top with it. And at first I thought, oh, I prefer like a more nuanced, kind of more interesting character than this guy who's just kind of angry and screams a lot. But something's revealed later in the film which kind of recontextualizes his performance, and then you kind of go, oh, okay, well, now that I know why he's acting that way, it doesn't really bother me as much. The action scenes as well, obviously I've talked about how you'll see forwards in time and backwards in time, and they'll meet each other and you'll see cool stuff you've never seen before, but just the way it's all helmed is really good as well. Although I will say, there's an action scene towards the end, like the big kind of climactic action scene, and there are some moments where I'm thinking like, hold on, like, who are they with and why are they going in there? And like, it is a complicated movie. There's like a plot, there's a new plot point every minute, and I will say it's not as complicated as I heard. I heard people say it's like way more complicated than Inception, and like they just didn't understand a thing that was going on. It's not that bad, it's just, you do have to be fully switched on like 100% of the time, otherwise you will be like, what are they doing? Where are they going? Like, why is he chasing them? Like, you really do have to be switched on for it. But for the most part, you'll understand what's going on. There might be the occasional time where you're like, oh fuck, I missed a bit of dialogue there, because that's another thing as well, is the sound design, or the sound mixing I should say. It's really not the best. You think Nolan would have learned by now, because this has been an issue since The Dark Knight Rises, but the dialogue sometimes does kind of get drowned out by either the score or by the kind of sound effects and stuff, and I don't know why they do that. You'd think they'd have learned, but I don't know if it's a deliberate choice, because like there are lines in the movie, like there's a line where Clement's poetry says, don't think about it, don't try to understand it, just feel it. And I don't know if like that's essentially Nolan just admitting like, yeah, don't try and look into the science and figure out if it makes sense, just enjoy it. And so, you know, it does make you think a little bit, like, because there are scenes where, there's one scene in particular where they're having a bit of dialogue, and rather than like walking down the street or being in an office or something, they're on these like really loud, I don't even know what they're called, it's like a type of boat, like a kind of jet thing, and it's like so loud and you can't understand a word they're saying, and I'm thinking like, why did he say it on that boat? Like, I don't know, maybe it's just Nolan saying it doesn't even matter, but maybe it will annoy you. That said, it's not as bothersome as I thought. It's only the odd scene where you can't hear what's going on, which I know that shouldn't happen ever in a movie of this size, but I'm sure by the time it gets released on physical media, they will change that and fix that. Jennifer Lane edited this movie. Usually Lee Smith edits Christopher Nolan's films, and I've got to say I kind of wish that they kept Lee Smith, because the editing is probably my least favourite part of the film. For the most part it's fine, and it is like Nolan, there was an article before Tenet came out and Nolan said that Tenet is probably the hardest movie anyone's ever had to edit, which I don't know if I would necessarily go that far, but it would be up there. I mean, this must have been an absolute ball ache to edit. And for the most part, Jennifer Lane did a really good job, but there are moments, like when it first starts, it kind of reminded me of The Rise of Skywalker, in the sense that it's just like, there's a situation, but they wrap it up really fast, and then suddenly they're on a new situation, but they don't set up the new situation, it doesn't feed into it, it's just one thing happens, then another thing happens, then another thing happens, but it's not, this happens, therefore that happens, therefore that happens. There's no like through line, it's just a thing, then another thing, then another thing, and it feels really fast paced, and you don't know, like, you don't see how characters get anywhere, or they just appear in like new countries all of a sudden, even though it feels like the next shot is like, I don't know, minutes later, but then they're in another country or something, and so it feels really fast paced like that. But then at the same time, later on in the film, I was thinking that it felt a little bit, there was a point toward about 2 hours in, maybe a bit more than that, where I started to really feel the length of the movie, which it is a 2.5 hour film, but I can think of like The Wolf of Wall Street is longer than that, Django Unchained is longer than that, and to me both of those films feel shorter than this. They're well paced, and well paced doesn't even mean fast, it just means that you don't get bored. And there was a certain point in Tenet where I wasn't bored, but I was feeling the runtime a bit, so I don't think the editing was top notch, but like I said, I can't even imagine how difficult it is to edit. I've actually just made a short film and I've been editing that, and it's 8 minutes long, and even that has taken me weeks to edit. Once you've done like sound and color correction, and you've used every different angle, you know, you've looked at all the footage from every different angle, and you've spliced them in and laser photos, like that's been taking me weeks. So I can't even imagine editing something like Tenet. But yeah, so all in all, I think Tenet is a really good film. For my money personally, I actually think it's probably slightly better than Dunkirk. But I'll have to see how it holds up on rewatch. I'll have to see if, you know, like now that things are kind of slightly recontextualized, I'll have to see if they hold up or if they play better or play worse. I've only seen it once for now, but seeing it in IMAX with the sound design, the score, the cinematography, the action set pieces, the whole central premise around it, I thought was brilliant. Like I say, some of the scripts and the characterization aren't the best. It really doesn't focus on that at all. It really does go for the spectacle stuff. The editing's not the best at times, and some of the sound mixing is a bit off, but I'm sure they'll sort out the sound mixing anyway. And honestly, like if you've seen the reviews that I saw where everyone's kind of saying like, oh, you know, this is towards the bottom of Nolan's movies. Honestly, I really disagree with that. It's hard to say where I'd rank it. I mean, it's not. I'm not saying it's his best. It's not up there with his best, I wouldn't say, but for me, it's at least in the middle of the pack. I think it's a really solid movie. Easily the best film of the year I've seen so far. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it. Cheers for watching this review of Tenet. I've got more videos coming out soon, including my short film, and I'll probably do a bit of a Q&A about that. So if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, click the notification bell, all that stuff. And yes, apologies, it's been a while, but I've had to move flats and get a new setup, and I've been trying to find a job, or I've been thinking about doing a master's, so I've had a lot of stuff on my plate and the short film and all that stuff. So, but I'm back now. We'll have more videos coming soon, and yeah, take it easy.